let's talk about how American Psycho actually works, because this isn't just a movie about a guy who may or may not be murdering people. It's a film built on a fundamentally broken system where perception replaces reality. Here's the rule that governs this entire world. In 1980s Wall Street culture, you are what others perceive you to be. Nothing more, nothing less. Your inner life? Irrelevant. Your actual identity? Doesn't exist. What matters is the surface, the suit, the business card, the restaurant reservation. And here's where it gets brilliant. When everyone operates by this rule, something breaks. Because if identity only exists externally, then identity doesn't really exist at all. Everyone becomes interchangeable. Which is exactly what happens. Throughout the film, characters constantly mistake each other for other people. Paul Allen thinks Patrick Bateman is Marcus Halberstrom. Patrick's lawyer thinks Patrick is someone named Davis. This isn't sloppy writing. This is the point. When society reduces people to their appearances and status symbols, people literally become indistinguishable from each other. The business card scene is probably the most famous sequence in the film, and it's essentially a masterclass in showing us the rules of this world. 4 grown men sit in a conference room comparing business cards. Not discussing business, not doing actual work, just comparing pieces of cardstock. And they treat this like gladiatorial combat. Patrick describes his card as bone with Cillian rail lettering, and he's genuinely proud, like he's showing off a championship trophy. But then Paul Allen card is revealed. Look at Bateman's face. He's not just disappointed, he's having a psychological break. His entire body goes rigid. He can barely force out the word nice. He's literally sweating over a business card. Here's the question. Why does this matter so much? Because in this world, that business card is Patrick Bateman. It's not a representation of him. It's literally all he is. When Paul's card is better, Paul is better. Patrick has been defeated, not in business, but in existence itself. And here's the absurd part. Have you actually looked at these cards? They're almost identical. Slightly different fonts, marginally different shades of off-white. The differences are so minimal they're essentially invisible. But that's the entire point. These men are competing to be the exact same person, just slightly better at it. They're all trying to win a game of conformity. So, what happens when you build your entire identity on external perception in a world where everyone is identical? You experience what Patrick experiences, complete ego death. Not the spiritual enlightenment kind, the horrifying psychological collapse kind. Patrick Bateman has no internal identity. He tells us this directly in his opening monologue. There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me. He's essentially a philosophical zombie. He looks human, acts human, but there's nothing inside. He's all facade. And this creates an impossible situation. Patrick desperately wants to be seen as unique, as special, as the best. But he's operating in a system that makes uniqueness impossible. The only way to differentiate himself is through transgression. Which brings us to the murders. The violence in this film isn't about sadism, it's about existence. Patrick kills people because it's the only action he can take that feels real, that feels like proof he exists as more than just a surface. If he can destroy someone, then he must be someone, right? But here's the cruel joke. Even his murders can't break through the surface, because nobody cares. Nobody notices. Or more accurately, nobody believes that someone like Patrick Bateman, with his perfect hair and expensive business card, could possibly be a killer. Now, the film deliberately makes it impossible to know what actually happened. Is Patrick really killing people? Is any of this real? Director Mary Harron and writer Guinevere Turner have said they intentionally avoided the cliché, "It was all a dream" ending. They wanted some events to be real, and some to be distorted through Patrick's fractured perception. Christian Bale himself described Patrick's arc as going from psychopath to psychotic, meaning he starts with some grip on reality and loses it completely. There's a clear turning point, the ATM machine that tells him to feed me a stray cat. That's when the film shifts from uncomfortable realism to obvious delusion. Everything after that, shooting cop cars that explode, leaving zero evidence, the helicopter chase, becomes increasingly surreal. But here's why the ambiguity matters. It doesn't actually matter if the murders are real. Whether Patrick literally killed Paul Allen or just fantasized about it, the result is the same. No one believes him. No one cares. When he returns to Paul Allen's apartment, where he supposedly murdered him, it's been completely cleaned, and the realtor implies Paul Allen never lived there. The system protects Patrick either way. If he did kill people, he's too rich and well-connected to face consequences. If he didn't, then he's having a mental breakdown, and nobody will acknowledge it, because that would require actually seeing him as a person. So the film ends with Patrick back at dinner with his colleagues, and he delivers this chilling monologue. This confession has meant nothing. Patrick wants to be caught. He wants to be punished. He wants someone to acknowledge what he is, but he can't escape the system. Whether his crimes were real or fantasized, the result is the same. Nobody sees him. He's still just an idea, an abstraction, a business card with slightly off typography. The film ends exactly where it began. Everyone at dinner, having meaningless conversations, looking identical, mistaking each other for other people. Nothing has changed. Nothing can change. Because the system that created Patrick Bateman is still running perfectly. The final shot is Patrick staring directly at the camera, and behind him a sign that says, "This is not an exit." It's both literal and metaphorical. Patrick can't escape this world. We can't escape this critique. The door is sealed.